Coming up today, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un hails a successful test of a powerful new medium-range ballistic missile. He uses the occasion to make new threats against the United States. The UN Security Council says it's gravely concerned by North Korea's latest provocation as most of the international community lines up to denounce Pyongyang's missile launch. First polling stations across the UK will open in 3 hours from now for the British public to decide whether the country should remain inside or leave the European Union. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello, it's noon on Thursday, the 23rd of June. You're tuned in to our midday newscast here on Arirang TV. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. Our top story this afternoon. In a worrying new development, North Korea has claimed to have successfully launched a medium-range ballistic missile. Wednesday's test firing was greeted with jubilation, and the regime's leader wasted no time issuing a threat to the United States. Connie Kim starts us off.
North Korea has hailed the success of its missile launch, upping the high-stakes threat to peace in Northeast Asia. The regime's state-run Korean Central News Agency reported that after supervising the launch, Kim Jong-un said the world would be able to evaluate the capability of North Korea's missile capabilities. Kim also said North Korea possesses a surefire capability to attack U.S. positions in the Pacific in an overall and practical way. North Korea's two missile launches on Wednesday came about a month after its previous missile launch attempt ended in failure. The first attempt on Wednesday also ended in failure, but the second launch has raised concerns. That missile is believed to have flown at a height of 1,000 kilometers and traveled 400 kilometers before crashing into the EC. It's thought North Korea deliberately raised the launch angle to avoid hitting Japanese territory and to test its warhead re-entry technology to build an intercontinental ballistic missile. Military officials in Seoul say they're closely monitoring the technological advancements made by the North's ballistic missile program. The Musudan missile has a range of up to 4,000 kilometers, theoretically putting any part of Japan and the U.S. territory of Guam within its range. Adding to the threat, North Korea is believed to have up to 50 Musudan missiles, which the North first deployed back in 2007. Experts say that if North Korea can perfect the technology, the security landscape in the Pacific region will take on a more dangerous complexion. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
The UN Security Council has slammed North Korea for its latest missile provocations. Members of the Council convened an emergency meeting to discuss joint measures on the matter. The White House has also condemned the North for its reckless and destabilizing actions. Oh Se-young reports.
The UN Security Council has expressed grave concerns about North Korea's latest missile launches. At an emergency meeting held at the UN's headquarters in New York on Wednesday, French Representative François Delattre, the rotating president at the Council, denounced the launches as an unacceptable violation of UN agreements. Speaking to reporters, Delattre emphasized the need for the 15 member countries to swiftly issue a press statement to jointly condemn the North's provocation. He said discussions on the statement were currently underway, though it's unlikely to be produced within a day. In Washington, the White House clarified its solid stance against the launches.
The United States strongly condemns the provocative actions by the North Korean government that is a flagrant violation of their international obligations.
The official added that the impact of Pyongyang's provocations only strengthened the resolve of the international community, saying the US will continue to work with the international community, especially with its allies South Korea and Japan. He said the US will also continue talks with China and Russia on ramping up pressure on North Korea. Oh Se-young, Arirang News.
Now, hot on the heels of North Korea's missile launch, South Korea's chief commanders gathered this morning for their biannual meeting at Seoul's Defense Ministry. Defense Minister Han Min-gu ordered full military and defense readiness and vowed stern counteraction against North Korea's provocations, saying Pyongyang will be completely isolated if it pushes ahead with its weapons program. He said the South Korean military will continue to develop its Korea air missile defense system and kill chain to equip defense systems against the North's rockets and missiles. The commanders are now at the presidential office of Cheongwade for lunch with President Park Geun-hye. She's expected to encourage them and check up on the nation's defense conditions, as she has every year since taking office in 2013. Now, in other news, the ruling Saenuri Party's interim council has decided to accept 3 independent lawmakers back into the fold after the group jumped ship during a turbulent candidate nomination process in the run-up to the April general election. With this decision, the ruling party has welcomed back all 7 of the lawmakers who defected during the pre-election strife. The party accepted the other 4, including former floor leader Yoo Seung-min, back into the party last week. The ruling Conservative Party now has 129 lawmakers, making it the largest party in the National Assembly again, but it still lacks a parliamentary majority in the 300-seat Assembly. The main opposition, Minju Party of Korea, has 122 seats. Now, it's June 23rd. It's a day Britain, the European Union and the world has been anxiously waiting for. Brits will head to the polls in under 3 hours to decide whether the UK stays in or withdraws from the EU. Our Hwang Ho-jun has the latest.
To leave or not to leave? That's the question. A decision that will have an impact on the entire world, let alone the UK and the EU, is now in the hands of Britain's 46.5 million eligible voters. The latest poll suggests the race is neck and neck. As of Wednesday, support for Remain was slightly higher than for Leave, but still well within the margin of error. Leaders of both sides have passionately pleaded with citizens who still might be on the fence.
The absolutely key thing tomorrow as people go to vote is to vote on the economy, to vote for jobs, to vote for livelihoods, to vote for Remain.
You know, you've got the EU Commission sitting instead of us deciding how fish stocks, our UK fish, are going to be parcelled up and divvied up. So you take back control, and I think it will be a big, big moment for democracy in this country and around Europe.
Polling stations in the UK will be open from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's 3 p.m. Thursday to 6 a.m. Friday in Korea. No exit polls will be taken, but the voter turnout will be announced soon after polling stations close. The official result will be announced shortly after all votes are totted up, which will be around 3 p.m. on Friday, Korea time. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News.
And we'll be bringing you comprehensive coverage of the results as they come out here on Arirang TV. Now to the latest on the US presidential election. And presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump has slammed Hillary Clinton, labeling her the most corrupt presidential candidate in US history. During a speech in New York, Trump said Clinton was a world-class liar who had perfected the politics of profit while serving as the Secretary of State. He also accused the Democratic presumptive nominee of criminal levels of corruption. Trump also blamed Clinton for unleashing the Islamic State militant group on the world. In the past few weeks, Trump has been trailing in the polls. Clinton fired back shortly after, calling her Republican rival a candidate of reckless ideas who is trying to distract the American public. Clinton said Trump was going after her personally because he has no answers on the substance. South Korea's exports to China dropped for the 11th straight month in May. The Korea International Trade Association says local exports to China came in at around $9.9 billion last month, down roughly 9% from a year earlier. The pace of decline, however, made a slight improvement last month as Korea's outbound shipments to its largest trading partner have been posting double-digit drops from December last year all the way through April. The report says key export products like semiconductors and auto parts have been suffering from sluggish Chinese demand. Koreans are using plastic to make more of their purchases. According to a report by the Credit Finance Association, card spending jumped roughly 22% in May compared to the same month last year. Credit card purchases jumped almost 11% from the year before, and debit card purchases spiked 16.5%. The report attributes the rise to the government's designation of May 6th as a temporary holiday, which created a 4-day-long weekend and boosted spending. The association notes the spending increase was mainly in hotels and other kinds of accommodation. The report says the jump is also partly due to a surge in tax payments made with credit cards. Samsung Display is still by far and away the top supplier in the global OLED market. New data from market researcher IHS shows the Korean firm accounted for 97.7% of global shipments of organic light-emitting diode panels in the first quarter. That's nearly 90 million units. Korea's LG Display and Taiwan's AUO Display trailed far behind with 0.9% and 0.7% respectively. The majority of OLED panels, or 96%, were used for smartphones, followed by smartwatches and tablet PCs. There is also widespread speculation Apple is planning to use OLED panels for its next iPhone, which experts believe will boost demand by more than 100 million units a quarter. Korea's second largest automaker, Kia Motors, has emerged on top of an annual initial quality study of new cars sold in the United States. And this is the first time in 27 years that a non-luxury brand has seized the coveted honour. Kia was first among 33 automakers in the J.D. Power study, moving up from second place a year ago. This year's runner-up was Porsche. Bottom was Daimler's AG Smart mini cars, which scored well below the next to last Fiat and third to last Volvo. This list was compiled from more than 80,000 surveys from owners of 2016 model year new vehicles. Back to the US now, and Democrats in the House of Representatives are staging a sit-in to demand a vote on gun control measures before they break for the July 4th holiday. It's the latest in a series of moves by lawmakers who are frustrated by the lack of action to limit access to guns in the wake of mass shootings in the US. Kim Jung-soo has more.
40 Democrats, led by civil rights icon and Representative John Lewis, are staging a sit-in on the floor of the House of Representatives, calling for immediate action to expand gun control measures. They are seeking a vote on one measure that would bar gun purchases for people on the government's terror watch list, also known as a no-fly, no-buy bill, and another that would expand background checks for people who want to buy guns. Both are similar to two measures proposed by Democrats that were voted down by the Senate on Monday, along with two others proposed by Republicans. Shortly after the sit-in began, House Republicans put the chamber into recess. House Speaker Paul Ryan, in an interview with CNN, characterized the action as a publicity stunt. Lewis, in a speech before the sit-in, condemned Congress for not responding to the Orlando massacre in a responsible manner.
We can no longer wait. We can no longer be patient. So today we come to the well of the House to dramatize the need for action. Not next month, not next year, but now, today.
He said that Congress must put partisan interests aside and address the mass shooting with directness and clarity.
We're calling on the leadership of the House to bring common sense gun control legislation to the House floor. Give us a vote. Let us vote. We came here to do our job. We came here to work.
The sit-in is the latest effort by lawmakers advocating for action on gun control. Several House Democrats walked out on a moment of silence on the House floor meant to honor the Orlando victims, frustrated by the lack of progress. Last Thursday, Senate Democrats filibustered for nearly 15 hours to push the majority leader to call a vote on the 4 gun control bills that were ultimately defeated. Kim Jung-soo, Arirang News.
Now, in a move certain to trigger an angry response from Seoul, Japan's ruling party is pitching an election pledge of setting up a new research centre on Korea's easternmost Dokdo islets and wartime sex slaves. The Liberal Democratic Party's pledge is included on its list of promises ahead of Japan's upper house election that is slated for July 10th. Sources say the move is intended to reinforce Japan's sovereignty claims over Korea's territory and deny forced sexual slavery of the so-called comfort women. Listing a broad range of policy initiatives, the compilation dubbed J-File says the new entity will conduct historical and academic research on territorial issues. It adds that research activities will be used to, quote, refute egregious claims that undermine Japan's reputation, end quote. Despite the tone of that message, the J-File also stresses the need to cooperate with neighbours like South Korea to boost regional security. The 7th Asia-Europe Culture Ministers meeting has kicked off in Korea's southwestern city of Gwangju. Starting with the Culture Minister's opening address, Prime Minister Hwang Kyo-an and the Mayor of Gwangju gave a congratulatory speech and welcoming remarks, respectively. During the three-day event that runs through Friday, culture ministers from the various ASEM members will present their country's action plans and policies under the theme Culture and Creative Economy. On the sidelines of the meeting, an institute under ASEM, the Asia-Europe Foundation, is discussing issues with high-level officials to allow a more enriched and enhanced dialogue between the ministers. Well, those are stories we've been following on this Thursday afternoon here in Seoul. For more of the latest, don't forget to check out the website arirang.com/news. We also have our smartphone application. You can find it by searching for Arirang TV in your app store. Have a great day. Goodbye.